Hello everybody, Happy New Year, Happy 2019, Happy January. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna the Medium. Thank you so much for coming back. For those of you who are new, thank you so much. I hope you stay. I hope you like what you hear. A lot of exciting energy this month. I seem to be getting information that goes a little bit further. So I often talk about February and March. So do listen to these, come back to these when you can. As always, my intention is to give you information that will ultimately help you evolve and grow, that will help you feel empowered, that will help you feel love towards yourself, that will help you feel appreciation for who you are, which is an amazing, amazing divine being. Whatever you take out of this, please always know that it may not make sense to you right away. It makes sense to you later. Some things may hit you right away. Some things may not hit you until 2 weeks from now or a month from now. So do listen to this with an open heart and an open mind. Also, for any private sessions, of course, which I always love to do, that information is down below. Also, the 2019 6-month messages are up and running. I have also included that information for you down below, so make sure you go ahead and check it. And above all, I want to thank you again for coming back. I feel this is an exciting year for all of us. So stay tuned. I hope you like these. Of course, please comment. I always love reading your comments. Thank you again so much for sharing, subscribing, liking. I love each and every one of you. Energy you contribute to what I do. So without further ado, Happy New Year once again. Let's start with your messages. Hello beautiful Geminis, Happy New Year to you. Happy January 2019. We are already in a brand new year. Well, let's see what January has in store for you. If you would like more information on the continuation of this message, there are videos on Vimeo for the first 6 months of 2019, and I have left the link below for you. Okay, I am very excited about these messages for you because whatever is happening in the month of, I almost said April, so okay, so some of you mark April on your calendars, but for majority of you, between the months of January and February, actually I want to say the first 3 months of 2019 are going to be months where certain realizations about yourself, it has to do with attachments and detachments, will allow you to create harmony in your life that you have previously not known before. Now that's a big statement. That is a big statement. So you can see why I may be a little bit excited about this, a lot actually, because it represents for many of you a fundamental change. And I know a lot of you that I have had the pleasure to meet, Geminis, have been struggling for quite some time. And I know that for many of you, 2018 has proven to be a difficult year in many ways. Certainly difficult isn't the right word. Challenging in most cases. I feel that most of you have had many endings and also new beginnings, but I feel the transition isn't over yet. And perhaps it's why I am seeing that for majority of you, this message for January will actually ring true in the first 3 months of 2019. So if it doesn't ring true for you when you are listening to it in January, do listen to it at the end of January and also somewhere in February. When I first tuned into your energy, I saw a heart, an image of a heart, and then I saw you, a representation of you standing on the opposite side of this heart, which was peculiar to me because the heart belongs to you. So why is it outside of you? Why is it outside of you? And then I hear the word rejection. So for majority of you who hear this, you are and have been struggling with some form of rejection. Rejection of self creates ripple effects in our lives. which unfortunately brings us results often that we don't want. And sometimes we can be determined about creating a goal. However, if the goal and the energy of that goal is inconsistent with what we feel about ourselves as a result of self-rejection, for example, then it proves to be a very difficult task to attract what it is that we want. So simple law of attraction, we can get into it a little bit more. But the idea of the heart being separate from you symbolizes to me that when it comes to self-love or lack of, which would be rejection of self in many ways, that is about to come full circle for you, and that has the opportunity to change. And it will change in a way that you will ultimately begin to accept yourself just the way you are, with all your faults and all, and you will begin to appreciate the beauty of you because you're a divine being. We all reject ourselves for various reasons. I talked about this in another sign. It is a universal thing that we all do to some level, to some degree, at some points in our life. But when we continually do this on regular basis, particularly when it stems from our childhood memories, then we essentially create life that is filled with, well, need I say, things that perhaps create havoc in our life. So let's start with some cards. The first card represents things that you are leaving behind. So things that you are currently leaving you. Three of Wands to me represents the need for expansion, but there is not a lot of oomph behind. There's not a lot of energy. There's not a lot of action. I feel like a stalemate. So for many of you, this will symbolize career idea or career situation where, I'm trying to turn my music down, where you want something more from what you already have, but it's not happening. And I feel, although it is showing up in the leaving position, some of you still will feel this stagnant feeling in a little bit in the first beginning of 2019. However, you are transitioning out of this, and the next card would be the Four of Wands, which is to me it's building stability. So you are in the process of moving into much stable and much more creative time of your life. But again, I feel this is going to transpire past the first quarter of 2019. So if there are not too many things happening in January and February, know that things are moving forward. They may just not be moving forward as fast as you want. And that's because there is some finality or some culmination that needs to take place. So although this is in a past position, some of you are still deciding what you want to do in your future. Whether it is expand your career, whether it is expand your business, expand into your business, find new ways to be more creative, find new ways to attract more creative endeavors. This could also represent relationships where you are looking to expand in your relationships. So that's what's leaving behind. Some of you will still experience this in the first couple of months, 2-3 months in 2019. The card that represents January is Four of Pentacles. So this is a card that talks about, well, whoops, in upright position, and this is you. This is someone who is self-secure or who is secure and stable in his or her physical environment, because the card is showing up in this position. Something is blocking your stability. Now, this is directly connected to you wanting something more out of your life, but currently you are experiencing perhaps not the stability that you would like. Now, for some of you, this is lack of stability in finances. That's pretty straightforward. For some of you, because this is a general message, this will represent lack of stability in your relationships or any aspect of your life that's of a physical nature. For some of you, this will represent your health is not as solid as you would like. The idea of hoarding comes up, which is really interesting because that is not the message of the Four of Pentacles, but I am an intuitive messenger, so I don't read cards per se. For some of you, if you have a tendency towards hoarding is, I want to say, it's almost like an addiction where you have a deep underlying belief that there is not enough of something, and the idea of hoarding is being born and represents you needing to acquire things to ensure that whatever you think is lacking is going to be fulfilled. Well, I don't know if you've seen the show Hoarders, for those of you who live in North America. It can get nasty. So I don't think there's too many of you who actually have it to that extent. But for those of you who have tendencies to hold back, to hoard, to have 1,000 things in your storage boxes that you never use and you will never use, the idea here is to maybe spend some time and do some early spring cleanup. Even though we're not in spring, we're in winter. There's nothing wrong with starting perhaps a little bit early. And that's because there are brand new things to come to you. The Ace of Wands to me represents a brand new beginning. This is a brand new, could be a brand new relationship, a brand new love, a brand new opportunity, brand new career, brand new creative endeavor. This is brand new. Something brand new is happening or is transpiring. I do feel it's a little bit more towards March, April. However, for some of you, this is going to transpire in the month of January, and for some of you in February. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. If you have been wanting something more, it is happening. It is just not happening at the moment. So the word patience comes up, which I know many of you roll your eyes because we have been patient. But I'm the messenger, so that's the message. Now, what is the future? I always do this because I don't like the word future. I don't predict future. I don't like predicted future. Future is based on you a lot. But what is coming up in a future position is judgment. This is finality. This is something in your life that has been, that is going to be no longer. Another way of saying this is you will be closing a very long chapter of your life. One that for many of you is associated with an internal struggle of never being enough, which will consequently translate for many of never having enough. So, as far as I can see, you have a brand new beginning. You have a message of metamorphosis, which is deep transformation. You have a message of Golden Palace, which is feeling safe and secure and knowing your own value and knowing that your value does not come from what you do or what you drive or what you have. Your value comes from simply being you. And so I'm just going to stick with that for a moment. Those are the things that are actually working for you, which are great. Now, what are some of the things that are hindering you? Balance is coming up twice here. Two different cards. Balanced relationships is just that. Any relationships that are out of balance in your life, including ones with yourself, this is a good time for you to address them. So, if you are with a spouse, if you are with a significant other, if you are with your husband, with your wife, with your boyfriend, with your girlfriend, whatever it may be, with your partner at work for that matter, if there is any sort of imbalance in your relationship, it's important for you to, number one, clearly see it for what it is. So don't deny yourself the truth, because that will not be helpful. Denying yourself the truth only prevents you from finding a solution, and it just keeps you stuck. So seeing it for what it is, and then asking yourself what it is that you can do to bring whatever relationship it is to balance, whether it's with a spouse, with a worker, with a coworker, whatever it may mean for you. What is your relationship with money? Many people have a really unhealthy relationship to money, and they don't even know. If your idea of money, for example, comes with the attachment of obscurity, in other words, if you have grown up with a parent who always scrounged money, is that the right word? Who never spent because, oh my God, if I spend there is not enough, who was overly frugal, who was penny pincher, who always complained of there not being enough money, your relationship to money more likely than not is not going to be one of abundance. It will be more likely than not a relationship of scarcity. If that is the case with you, all you need to do is you look at your financial situation and ask yourself, is my current financial situation reflecting abundance or lack of finances in my life? If you continue to struggle with lack of finances in your life, you need to ask yourself, what is my relationship to money? And spend some time digging deep, perhaps into your deeper aspects of you, your shadow self, your inner child work self, and just notice what your relationship to money is. One really good way of determining what your relationship is to money is when you receive money, what's your first reaction? How do you feel? If you have a nervous reaction, then your connection to money is one of an anxiety. If your connection to money is one of an anxiety, you will certainly not want to attract more of that to your life, because why on earth would you want more an anxiety? And I do a really neat exercise with my clients with money, and it's astonishing what comes up from the subconscious mind. And once whatever is subconscious becomes conscious, then the whole world opens up to you. So another relationship is relationship with money. Your relationship with work. If your relationship with work is one of you being a workaholic, you need to ask yourself, what is it bringing me, number one? But obviously, workaholic is like saying alcoholic. It's an addiction. If you have an addictive relationship with work, then you're not having a balanced relationship, and that's going to cause you problems everywhere else. So seeing why that is for you, and what is the deeper need that you're fulfilling by being a workaholic. If it is because you're constantly not having enough money, then you have to look at what your relationship with money is. So that's some examples that talks about relationships. Obviously, relationships with other people. How do you relate to others? Do you withhold yourself from others because you're afraid or you're going to get hurt, which will not allow you to have balanced relationships? Or do you overgive because you want others to love you, but you don't get anything back because you feel you're unworthy? That will absolutely unbalance your relation. Will not balance your relationships, or will imbalance your relationship, because that's not a balanced way of you relating to you. So those are the things that you might want to look at in the first part of 2019. Again, because judgment is a huge underlying energy, it means that you are ready to commit to yourself, but differently this time. And what is a commitment to ourselves? That's actually a notion worth exploring. So one way of committing to ourselves is how we view ourselves on a regular basis, and consequently how we talk to ourselves as a result. How we view ourselves is based on what we believe about ourselves. So if your belief about you is not one of being lovable, being kind, being worthy, being special, being whatever, then chances are the opposite is true. If that's the case, your relationship with you is not going to be a very, very balanced one. And chances are, karmically speaking, you've been dealing with this for many lifetimes. At the end of the day, I always say, whether you believe in other lifetimes or not, it's totally irrelevant. It's fun, but it's irrelevant because something in this lifetime always sets it into motion. So whatever imbalances are in your life, whatever imbalances you have within yourself, whatever balances are showing up in your life, you can almost always trace it to the way you grew up and how you perceived your environment, as a result of which you gained a certain understanding of life, and that became your belief system. Sweat Lodge is another message that basically says it's time to go into the dark. This is not me saying it's time to go to negativity, quite the opposite. This is time to explore your shadow self. You notice this person is walking into this dark tunnel, but this dark tunnel has this light at the end of this tunnel. So you know the proverbial saying, when you're in a dark tunnel, it's very hard to see because it's dark. But when you look far out, you can see there's a light that's showing up that says, okay, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Many of you will spend time, or will be prompted to spend time, in places you deem uncomfortable. Those are the shadows of ourselves. Those are the things that we choose not to look at because, well, quite frankly, they're uncomfortable. However, you have a card that is of a similar nature with pretty much the same meaning that says the lower world. And what this is saying here is, again, it's time to dig into aspects of you that are hidden. Both of these messages are virtually the same. I can't help but notice this bird here. And I hear the word hawk. I don't know if it's a hawk, but that is the word that I'm hearing. Now, hawk is a predator, but hawk has incredibly keen eyesight, which means it can see. I'm laughing to myself. I'm laughing to myself because the next card I see is the card of completion. And then you have judgment. It's all the same. Great stuff for you guys. Fantastic. This is the snake eating its own tail, and it's death and rebirth. It's karmically, this is phenomenal for most of you who are listening. But anyway, back to the topic. The hawk has a very keen sense of seeing. Therefore, it's able to see from a far distance. It's able to see from a greater distance. So one of the ways to work with a shadow self is to observe those aspects of you from a distance. If you were, let's say you look at the situation in your life that have transpired in your childhood. Let's say you had a parent who was a nasty person to you, and they have contributed to the way you feel about yourself. And as a result of how you feel about yourself, your life is shaped in a way that, wow, now it's producing things that you don't like. So because your belief system is going to create your reality, changing your reality is not going to necessarily change your belief system. Well, you could do it, but it's much harder. It takes a lot more work and a lot more effort. And it's kind of like swimming against the stream. In other words, there's a much easier way to do this. So the hawk to me represents you looking at that situation with your parent who was really nasty to you, and look at that situation as an observer. So see yourself with your parent and watch yourself as an observer. When you do that, you see yourself detached from the different emotions. When you can see yourself detached, ask yourself, when I look at this situation with this nasty parent, what is it from this perspective that I can see about this situation that shaped me in a way that today makes me an amazing individual? And I want you to look really hard and find at least something that will give you a positive outcome of a difficult circumstance. And the reason for it is very simple. We are not denying our past, nor do we want to. We shouldn't have to. We can never deny our past. Denying things is not very helpful. Acceptance is what makes things much easier to resolve. By facing our past with detachment, we're able to see things more clearly because there's no emotions attached. But not only can we see them more clearly, we can see them also much more broadly. So seeing things that way will allow you to draw conclusions that perhaps you didn't have access to. That in itself has the ability to fundamentally shift and shape your perception, which in fact will allow you to have the completion of something that you may have been struggling for a very, very long time. The judgment here also talks to me, Joanna, about renewal. So in a traditional tarot deck, the star is the renewal, but I'm seeing the renewal with this card. For you, particularly because it is coupled with a metamorphosis card, which is death and rebirth, and the completion card, which is death and rebirth. Chances are that majority of you who are listening to this will experience some sort of cathartic, is that the word I want to use? Situation, which is essentially, it's like an energy that catapults you forward. And although it may feel scary at the time, it frees you from being stuck. Which means some of you may get pushed into some uncomfortable situations. Life may show up in front of you and say, here, deal with this. And you're like, but the point of that is that when you can face whatever it is in front of you, you will be able to prove to yourself that whatever it is you have been fearing is really only an illusion. And with that said, what else I want to tell you? Okay, the message Boon Collector, card number 1, in reverse, says, you have been there, you have done that. Do not follow your old patterns. It's time to let go of that which is stagnant, particularly thoughts about you. This card to me represents a very, very karmic cycle, or a very karmic end of a cycle, or an end of a very karmic cycle. You see here this little, almost looks like a wheel of fortune, and there's all these skulls here. This represents time. This lady that's sitting here, she's illuminated. She has collected all these things that represent skeletons, represents past. But she's collecting these skeletons, and she's happy because now she has an understanding. She has wisdom. When the card shows up in this position, it tells me that some of you may be holding on to your past a little bit too long. And although that is always a comfort zone, and it is, because, well, we are wired to do certain things, and we do it without even thinking about it, and it becomes a habit. Habits, as we know, are hard to break because they're, well, hardwired. So one way to deal with a habit is to form a brand new habit. Trying to get rid of a habit that fundamentally fulfills a certain emotional need. It's like trying to cut the weed from this ground up where the root is still intact. Before you know it, it starts producing the growth of the weed. We don't want to do that because that's just waste of your time and energy. So spending time in your shadow self, or in the working with your inner child, might prove to be extremely important for you in the first part of 2019. Always think of yourself as a being that is of infinite potential, and the only reason why you are not able to see certain things is because something inside of you is blocking you from seeing it. You can interpret this however you want. Yes, it is a metaphor, it is a big statement, but I don't want to overinterpret this, because each one of you is going to hear this in your own special way that will be meaningful to you. March again comes up as an importance, a month of importance. I just did a message for Taurus. You are right after Taurus. Taurus also got March as an important month. So if you have a Taurus in your sign, or if you're on a cusp, it might be worthwhile to see for you what the Taurus sign represents for you. Even if you don't have any Taurus, just listen anyway and see if it makes, if it resonates with you, because a lot of these messages are very fluid and they're kind of will go into different signs. I'm always being asked, how do I do this, that I'm saying, you know, you listen to a sign that's not yours and it makes sense. I have no idea how I do it. All I know is that I say things that I'm being asked to say. I say things that flow, and I just trust that Spirit is going to reach those of you who are meant to hear it. And with that said, I'm being shown the number 9. Well, no time like the present to let things go. Any old beliefs about you that are not helpful, that are not healthy, that are detrimental to your growth, it's time to shake them out. It's time to get out of your own rut. And the last statement that I want to make here for you is this: always remember that whatever you believe you are worth now, you are worth infinitely more. You just can't see it yet. So do your part, do your due diligence, that you can see more of your worthiness little by little. Okay? And that means being kind to you, whatever that means to you. With that said, I feel that's all I have. So I do hope this was helpful. Of course, this is general, so it may not apply to everybody. And please check January, February, even March. This may come into your life more towards February, March. Of course, for private sessions, I would love to have that with you. That information is down below. And of course, the Vimeo videos, link to which is down below, may offer you a little bit more information in terms of the first 6 months. With that said, I want to say thank you so much for liking, sharing, and listening. I do wish you best of luck. Take care of yourself, and see you soon.